life. People have expectations that don't get met. And like Heidi's saying, everyone has their own set of expectations for what's going to happen. And if you multiply that by 100 people, that's 100 times that. Some of those expectations are not going to be met, so there will be some disappointments in that.
But Tom and Sarah, they have great hearts, and I believe God has been preparing them for you and to minister to you. So just recognizing that they're going to have some expectations too, and that's not unreasonable. It's a relationship. Mm-hmm. And just being sensitive to that from the word go, that giving them time to get acquainted with all of you and to not be insulted if they forget your name, even if they have to ask 10 times. And it would be great, actually, for you to introduce yourself for the first whole month.
Yeah, just assume they don't know your name.
Just assume they don't remember.
And just introduce yourself over and over.
Yeah, and not to be insulted if they don't remember.
Yeah. Here's a great example that kind of came up in the announcement John was making. He said, Tom asked for 4 people to help move in. You're going to be so excited when they get here and so excited when they're moving in. Many of you are going to want to show up on moving day to welcome them. I would highly recommend you do not overwhelm them when they're trying to move in. Give them 4 people, like Tom asked for, to help them move in, because if lots of you show up, he's going to feel obligated to talk to you and meet you, and he's going to want to, but he's not going to be getting his moving done. Now, he didn't tell me this. I'll speak for me. If this were me, if Rich were moving in there, I have a task, I want to get it done. I need 4 guys, 2 hours, we're getting everything moved in there. If you all come to say hello to me, it's going to take me 8 hours. And I'm going to be friendly and talk to you, but part of my mind's going to be on, I got to get this stuff moved in. So that's what we mean about reasonable expectations. These are regular people with regular plans. So if you ask them, what do you need, and they say, this is what we need, stick with what they say. So they might need some space to settle in. I know you're so excited to have them here, but they might need a little bit of a cushion, a little bit of a space to get in there and get settled, like a normal family moving into a normal new house, to get the furniture set up and get things shifted around. And
so I just think that if you offer them, you have a list of a couple people they could call for help, that would be great, and they could call for help. And I know you are a helpful community, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So they're going to be well loved.
I've also been thinking about the circumstances you've been through as a church family over the last couple of years. You are very ready to have a new pastor and pastor's family. You're very ready. You're also very eager. I think many of you will come forward and really wish to have pastoral care. And I'm going to be very straight with you. I've always been straight with you since I arrived here. When I arrived here in September, as I mentioned, you guys welcomed me. You were ready to engage in a relationship. Trust was built very quickly. And a lot of that was you. It was your attitudes. It was your approach. I commend you on that. But my experience also was there was a very high request for pastoral care from me, which in a full-time position, I would be able to give more. But I came here only part-time with limited hours. And I know I had to say to many of you, I just don't have that kind of time. And I've tried to redirect you to someone else in the church who can help you. To me, that was an indication of a congregation that has not had as much pastoral care as the need has warranted. Do you understand what I'm saying? You haven't had a full-time, consistent pastor for quite a while. And so pastoral care has somewhat been set aside here. It has not been as available to you as it might have been if you had a full-time pastor for the last year. Is this making sense? Okay. So you need to remember that so that you don't expect Tom to fill that need in the first week or the first month. He can't do it. He's one person. He cannot fill a year's worth of pastoral care in the first month or two. Give him time, like you gave me. We built a relationship. We built trust, and it worked, right? Tom will be the same way. He's going to come through for you. Just don't expect it all to happen in the first week. That makes sense, right? That's logical. Am I being clear?
You're being clear.
Okay.
I can't read our notes, so.
Oh, I can. You were going to talk a little bit about the experience of a pastor's wife.
Oh, yeah. So I have talked to, so I don't know if you all know that Rich and I have another ministry. It's called Breathe. And we do life coaching, counseling, and retreats for pastoral couples because there are too many pastoral couples that do not make it more than 5 years in ministry. So it's a very sad statistic, but I think over 50% of seminary couples in the first 5 years quit, never to do ministry again. So that's why we're talking really straight up with you, because Tom and Sarah are coming out of seminary. They so long to minister to the Church of God, but their first 5 years of ministry are really important for the long haul. And I believe you all are going to be great with them. We want to make sure it just goes super well. But for a pastor's wife, I don't know if you noticed it on this interview, Bree and Russ, Bree considered herself in full-time ministry. She's not. She was not. She is now, but she was not a full-time minister. She was not paid.
Hire her.
The church did not hire her. The church hired her husband, Russ. But she considered herself in full-time ministry. Leah and Levi, same thing. They only hired Levi, and Leah did not consider herself a full-time minister. So there are two different approaches that wives take. It's one or the other. They either feel like they're partnering with their husband or they're not. But you have to realize no matter what, even if they are partnering with their husband in ministry, you're not paying her. So you cannot expect her to be at every church event. Actually, it's not even good if Tom is at actually every church event. We would take times off sometimes from church event for the church to be the church without us, which sounds radical, but it actually is kind of helpful. But just recognizing that Sarah doesn't need to be here all the time. She's not going to be here all the time. She does not have to be a leader of any ministry. She could be a full-time mom and just focus on that for right now, especially with the transition, and to give her that space and ease up on her expectations. She could be an introvert. She could be an extrovert. She could appear as an extrovert. I heard that when she was here on stage, she was really outgoing. I do not know if she's an introvert or an extrovert. Rich is an introvert. So he needs a lot of time to refuel. So he could be really good relationally here, but when he goes home, he needs a lot of downtime.
When I leave you guys, I go home to a cave. Just leave me alone. I don't want to see any people.
But just recognizing that and just asking, it's really great when the church asks a pastor's wife, how can I help you? And listen to the response and then act afterwards.
A lot of it really is just having reasonable expectations. Reasonable expectations, especially for a pastor's wife, because all the pastor's wives we have talked to, there's like a common theme, and they feel like they're always disappointing someone, always. And as we unpack this, we realize it's because there are always unrealistic expectations on the pastor's wife. So just be really careful about that. Let her be herself. She has her own giftedness. She may have her own ministry that she'll want to get involved in, but you have to let her find her way at her pace. And also to recognize, especially for a pastor's wife, but for all of them, they're leaving an area where they've built a life. They're saying goodbye to people. They might actually be a little sad when they first get here. Happy to be here with you. I promise they will be. But they also might be dealing with a little bit of grieving of saying goodbye and leaving that life behind. So, you give them some space to kind of find their way in at their own pace.
Especially seminary couples usually get really bonded with 2 or 3 other couples and their kids. And when they leave seminary, it's just a hard adjustment. So you think about that. If you've moved at all and you've had a tight group of friends and you go someplace and you want to make new friends, but it just takes a while, just to give the space. Mm-hmm. I think that's just really important.
Yeah, and here's a big one. Tom and Sarah are not going to be Scott and Kathy. Don't even try to compare. Tom and Sarah are not going to be Rich and Heidi. Don't try to draw any comparisons. They're the people that God is calling here. They're different from us. They're different from Scott and Kathy. If God wanted us here, he'd call us here. He doesn't want us to keep going. He wants Tom and Sarah to come. So drawing comparisons always ends badly. Try not to do it. Let them be who they are.
Yeah, and then the other big thing is why we started our ministry is that they need rest. They need a Sabbath day and they need a day off every week.
Which is particularly hard when you live on the other side of the driveway from the church. So, respect them. Scott told me, you guys have to tell me if this is true. He told me once years ago that he said, Monday's my day off, don't come to my house. If you come to my house, I'm going to answer my door in my underwear. So, is that true? He did that, okay.
I heard he did that.
No, nobody dared try, right?
He's a tall, large man, just like having him come to the door in the underwear, I don't know. But that's just it. It's giving them space and privacy in their yard and in their home. That boundary is really important. This is a tough setup. So just know that going in for a pastor and his wife, this is really difficult.
It's very convenient, but it's hard to throw the off switch.
Yeah.
Like if you report somewhere to work, when you get home, you're off. Usually, I know a lot of us continue to work from home, but there's a clearer separation between work and home. And this arrangement is not as clear. So you can really help with that by helping them keep boundaries so that they can have family time and church family time and have an off switch in between. And here's what I found, a lot of pastors can't find their off switch. One of the things I do in this ministry Heidi's talking about is try to help people find their off switch, pastors in particular. Sometimes I have to help Heidi find her off switch because sometimes she can't find it.
More often than him.
We need to have an off switch. We were created for a rhythm of work and rest. So you can help them with that.
Yeah, so like one example would be you were stopping by the church to pick up something, they're in their yard with the kids. You could give a friendly wave, but not go over and talk to them because it's like their space. Unless you sense that they're coming over to talk to you, just recognizing that.
Yeah. So Heidi said I'm an introvert. We have to wrap up soon, but I'll just give you an insight into sometimes how it works in a pastor's mind in case you do end up thinking we're perfect. I know I'm close, but I'm not quite there. In Trumbull where we live close to a Stop and Shop, and once in a while, on a day off, I'd have to run to the store to get something. And I'd go into the store and I'd see someone in the aisle who was part of my church. Is this being recorded? There were days where I went to the next aisle. I skipped. And I got my stuff and tried to get out of the store without running into them. Not because I didn't love them, but I knew if I went down the aisle and ran into them, I'd end up in a long conversation that I didn't have the time or energy for, and it was my day off. Is that awful? No. But that's an example of pastoral couples are real people, and you have to recognize them as real people.
Yeah, but so let's just switch gears because you guys are great at about encouraging. We've experienced encouragement from emails that you sent. Just, wow, that was just a great message, or thank you so much
so
for...
good at that.
Yeah, and the choir's been really supportive, and the musicians, and just encouraging Rich and I, just say thank you so much for being here. You are so encouraging with your spoken word, with your emails, with little gifts. You are way on your way to being great joy contributors to Tom and Sarah. So I just encourage each of you just to think of, just to be praying on how you can minister to them. But through a simple card, encouraging, welcoming there. I'm sure you guys are going to be baking some dinners, finding out what they're allergic to, like simple things, what they like.
Yeah. I'm looking at the time. I think, John, we need to bring the band back up.
I forgot.
Yeah, as the band comes back up to close our time together, I'll just give you a preview of what's coming next Sunday. Next Sunday, Tom and Sarah and the family are going to join us here for our morning service. He and I talked about it. He said, what do you think? I'd like to come. I said, I think that's a brilliant idea. Please come. And so my approach to next Sunday's service, I'm calling it Passing the Baton. And we're just going to celebrate what God has done here at Grace Church next week for our role in it and how blessed we have been, and then to be able to pray over and bless Tom and Sarah as the baton is passed to them. So that's what's happening next week. And I see God's hand in it, and I'm very eager to see God's blessing come to us next week. I'm going to say a quick prayer. John, are you guys ready to go?
Yes, we are.
All right. Did I steal someone's music stand?
Nope.
Yes. Someone's stool. God, we thank you for all of your work, for your hand upon us, for how you work all things together for good, even things that aren't good at the moment. You just somehow build us back to where you want us to be. And I thank you for your obvious, evident hand of work here in the Grace family. You are good, and you are good to us. You are faithful and true. John, what's the last song we're doing?
House of the Lord. We're going to do
House
it
of the
again.
Lord. Amen.
Amen.
From that grave, my God, still rolling stones away. 'Cause we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We'll shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. We won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this
God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you back here next Sunday.
Your fingers are all red.
How are your hands?
Using these meat sticks for us today. Wait, where did you chip it?